Hi, looking ahead at March 2017, and it's clear that the main feature of March is going to be Venus, the planet of love, relationships, values, going backwards, Venus going retrograde. Now this is a big deal because Venus only goes retrograde every 19 months. It spends proportionately less time retrograde than any other planet, which makes it a kind of a bigger deal. The rarer an astrological event tends to make it more special, gives it more of an impact. And so unlike Mercury retrograde, for example, which goes retro about 3 times a year, again, Venus only goes retro once every 19 months, just over every year and a half, for 6 weeks at a time, or if you prefer, 40 days and 40 nights, give it a more poetic kind of flavour. So Venus is the planet of love, values, of looks, of money, of wealth, security, luxury items, and so on. It fools all the finer things in life, and it's not superficial to regard this as important. Most people regard the idea of Venus, the idea of a bit of escapism, beauty, a bit of love, as the things which make life worth living, the things which make your life worthwhile. So it's a very important shift in terms of your values and so on. And Venus retrograde has certain characteristic features. Venus, again, it's not so much the previous time Venus goes retrograde that you look for cues and clues as to what's going to happen, but the time 8 years previously. And so in 8 years, Venus will go retrograde 5 times. And it's the time 8 years before where it will retrograde on almost exactly the same spot. So in other words, in 2009, Venus went retrograde in March, within a couple of degrees, i.e. within a couple of days of the time it will go retrograde next month in March 2017. So you will look back to that period 8 years ago for an idea, for clues as to what is going to happen this time. Perhaps you can't remember what happened for 6 weeks 8 years ago, but there would be some kind of new cycle that would have begun in relation to what is going to happen in March this year. And very often when Venus goes retrograde, this is the time when you discover something new about somebody who you thought had no surprises for you, particularly maybe somebody you're in a long-term relationship with. And again, you may have felt that you knew them very well, you may have felt that you understood where they were coming from, but they just show you a side of themselves which you never quite expected, particularly again if it comes as a surprise and this is somebody who you thought you knew but actually didn't really quite know as well as you thought you did. You may also be showing them a different side. It may not be a conscious thing, you're not consciously trying to surprise or shock or throw anybody, but you just behave in a way that's kind of counterintuitive, or you just make someone's life a little bit more complicated, or they do it to you, or you do it to each other. But there will be a hump that you have to get over in terms of a relationship, and afterwards you will all understand each other better. So Venus goes retrograde on March the 4th at 19 degrees of Pisces. That's in the sidereal zodiac. And Pisces is Venus's sign of exaltation. It's the best sign for Venus. It shows where it's ultra forgiving, it's ultra romantic, and it shows that love will always find a way. Love conquers all when Venus is in Pisces. Of course, there's a kind of potential pitfalls to this if you're giving love and wonderful qualities to somebody who may or may not deserve it. Sometimes you get the kind of rescue drama where you think that all somebody needs is a little bit of love and understanding, but you can give yourself a lot of pain and a lot of trouble in the process. But on the whole, we can all use a bit of Venus's power in the sign of Pisces, and particularly because it will be there altogether for 4 months rather than the usual approximately 3 weeks Venus spends in a sign. So because it goes retrograde for this 6-week period and it slows down and so on, then it spends a much longer time in 2017 in its best sign. So take advantage of this if there's somebody that you want to patch things up with, if somebody needs a bit of forgiving, if you need a bit of forgiveness yourself, then Venus in its best sign, at its most powerful position, gives extra strength to all things Venusian. And that includes the healing arts, the creative arts, the artistic pursuits, music, writing, poetry, painting, and so on. All these kind of qualities are boosted when Venus is in its best sign